another cutaway, you'll take a look and just to compare, see how there's a little bit of a block of wood there? It's very, very small, but the difference is to have that little piece of wood completely alleviated. What that does is that allows you the ability to slide the hand right into the cutaway, get up to the highest notes. Another thing that helps that is putting the strap button on the back of the guitar. So you're not hitting that strap button and that bulky leather strap that kind of comes in right there. Of course, it does have the beveled armrest. It has a finish that's called a silent satin finish. It's very complex. It's very different than the satin finish we use in our Ducati guitars in our 300 series. If you're familiar with the thickness of our finishes, majority of them are 6 mil. On the 6, the 800, and the 900 series is 3.5 mil. This falls somewhere right in between the two. But again, a silent satin finish. If you've ever recorded with a guitar and you get that, that microphone in front of you and you hear all that squeaky noise on your jeans or on your bare leg, or it's just noise that you really don't want on the track, this kind of alleviates that. Also, just even the hand on it kind of gives it a really nice satin kind of rough finish. Goto tuners, of course. So this is the Builder's Edition. When the next wave of V-Class guitars comes out, there's going to be another Builder's Edition with all these features, but it won't be a K14. This is going to be a standard model going forward, so there will be more available. I know that actually Tom Lee has a few more of these on order, but. That I got to bring home over the Christmas break. We all got given one V-Class and we had to give a little sample of blood, and then we got to take it home for 2 weeks. And what I noticed, I've been working on a recording project with one of my colleagues, and he covers all of Southeast Asia for Taylor. So he's gone 2 months at a time on his work trips. And so when we're both home at the same time, we try to spend a lot of time recording. And there's a song that I wrote that we're putting on this album, and it's called If You Tell on Me, and the part that I played on the record, it starts like this. And that's the part that we had on tape. And I was kind of filling it out the whole time, like, keeping the finger picking really busy. And when I got this guitar and I heard the individual sustain, I kind of edited that part down to more like. Allowed those notes to kind of sing together a little more. And it's amazing what it did to the track, because there's piano on there, the bass, and a little percussion. And it just kind of opened things up, and it allowed it to breathe into the track a little bit more. So I think with these guitars, people are they're gonna have their own experience. Yes, sir.
I just want to, are you making any changes to the Expression 3? And are you still using 13 through 53s, the standard recommended string from that? Or?
This is the Expression System 2.
Okay.
So the ES2, so that's what we're still using, the same pickup.
Okay.
And the string gauge, we've gone back to using standard lights on the Grand Auditorium and the Grand Concert. That's 12 to 53.
Okay.
And then we're using standard mediums on the 3 larger shapes, which is 13 to 56.
Okay. I know for a while
there was an HD light.
An HD light.
Yeah.
And that's kind of.
We went back to the original lights. Yeah, there was a lot of, like anything else, everybody's got different colors they like.
It went back to the 12s and I'm happy. So.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, the thing is, as far as string gauge, string brand, pick, I mean, those are all the things that are the third part. You have body shape, you have tone woods, and then you really have the player and the player's choices of whether, what type of capo they're using, if they're using a capo, their tunings, their attack. Maybe they're using a really thick, kind of like this is a really thick pick. So like. take a thinner pick, it's just very different tones just by changing pick. So all those little factors.
How thick, how thin, is that, what's that?
I don't know, the finish is worn off. This is pretty thick, but this thing is more like a weapon, like you can slide it out there into my jugular. But so let me. So anyway, what I was saying, when we talk about volume and we talk about sustain, I think a lot of people initially they think volume of pickup guitar, hit it really hard with a big E chord down bottom, and it doesn't mean it's the loudest guitar in the room, but we're talking about subtleties. And you know, Taylor's always innovating, and this is a very exciting thing for us to come out with something that is so new and doing something that I think is you take a lot of history and taking sort of a right-hand turn with 160 years of history with this. So we're pretty excited about them. Like I said, we're going to roll it into all of our shapes through the end of next year. But it's something that I want you guys to experience yourself too. So like I said, with this one, this gentleman bought it a little earlier, so we'll just be mindful of it. And Dan or I will kind of keep an eye on it if you don't mind. We do have 3 other V-Class brace guitars. There's the presentation, the 914 CE and the K24. Again, if you see a black graphite nut on the guitar, it means it has V-Class. Plenty of other amazing guitars out here. Dan and the staff moved some other really cool things out here. Some of them are limited. So that 714 is a great guitar with a koa back and sides. That was a limited roadshow edition with the torified top. There's a couple of baritones, an 8-string baritone. There's a couple of customs, a little 12-fret custom here that I love that's got open call back and sides with a nice ebony mini wedge down the center. Another 12-fret for you to check out. There's a T5Z with a sassafras top that was also exclusively done for roadshows. So lots of guitars here to check out. That's kind of what I've got tonight. Any other questions about? Yes, sir.
About the finish on the guitar, what do they use?
It's a polyurethane finish. Yes.
Same as other companies, or?
Yeah. Well, we have a pretty different. We're in Southern California too, and there's a lot of restriction on what sort of carbons and things you put out into the air. So we actually switched from a nitrous to a poly just to be more environmentally friendly quite a few years ago. If you're ever in San Diego, you should really take the tour every day at 1 o'clock. It's a really interesting tour, and you'll see the finish area too. And there's a the way they do it is with I think they're releasing less than 3% of it out into the environment with all the modifications they've done.
Yeah, I wondered because some guitars, you know, if you lay your leather strap on it too long, it's going to affect that finish.
Like in the case, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, temperature change is a big problem too, and with that, I mean, if you've got something laying on top of the guitar, if it gets really hot or something. Yeah. But yeah, I usually remove a strap, or we'll roll it up underneath the headstock.
Yeah.
If it's going to be any length of time, it can adjust. It can change the fit of the guitar too. I like the neck to sit firmly in the cradle.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if you're trying to have it not sit on top of the strings, and you might have the strap under it, doesn't sit as evenly in the case. But any other? Sure. Yes, sir.
You said the beat racing is only on the Grand Auditorium series right now.
Well, it's only on 4 guitars right now, all of which are Grand Auditorium. Through the end of this year, it's going to be rolled into all the Grand Auditoriums. Made in the U.S., which goes down to the 314 CE. Next year, it will be rolled into the other body shapes.
Has Andy actually put the beat racing on a dreadnought? And if not, what do you expect?
I think, yeah, Andy's always working on things that I only know maybe about 15% of, to be honest. So yeah, he's experimented not just with Grand Auditorium, so he's done it with everything we make. But again, what's so cool about, we have a really nice luxury that we have a guy who builds guitars one at a time for a company that ships 130,000 guitars a year. So when Andy designs a guitar, he's got sawdust in his hair and on his boots and a pencil behind his ear, and he's always working on something, and he'll bring a prototype over to us or to a management meeting or an executive meeting, and they'll talk about it. And then Bob Taylor, once they get to the final build of that guitar, we have people that have worked with Bob for years in machinery, and okay, well, here's how we make 4,000 of them, you know, with the same quality control. So we've kind of got the best of both worlds. That's where the consistency comes in. So he has experimented and built a number of V-class brace in other body shapes, as well as other crazy prototypes I see in his office from time to time. I was talking to Brendan about that the other day, and it's fun to kind of go over there and take a peek, but we're sworn to secrecy. Like no photos in there, because we never know what ideas are going to come out either. You know, they're always experimenting with things and building things. And like I said, he started working on the V-class brace over 4 years ago. So
yeah, I was just curious. There's so much bottom end in these guitars that you've been playing.
yeah,
I'm just wondering how that's going to translate
into a dread.
in a dreadnought.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see. So, but yeah, the plan is to roll it into all of our other body shapes before the end of 2019. Yes,
Would it be possible to hear the 914?
of course. So this is going to be Indian rosewood back and sides with a Sitka spruce top. So the only change in this guitar from last year's 914 CE is the V-class brace.
So if someone were to buy the 814 Deluxe, it would basically be the same sound. It's going to have the new bracing, isn't it, on the
Well, it will have the new bracing this year. It will be rolling out to the V bracing. Very similar sound. The Deluxe has Adirondack bracing. Now, whether or not it's going to have Addy bracing in the V brace, I'm not sure about that yet, because I don't think it is.
The Deluxe, the 814 Deluxe.
Right, that's the one.
Sound very similar to this.
Pretty similar, yeah. Tonally, it'll have a different armrest. It has a same tone woods, and it will have a V brace. The new one will have a V brace. That'll be coming out about midpoint of the year.
Which armrest will be on the?
It's the radius armrest is on the Deluxe, the same one that's on there now. So this is the bevel. This was named after Grit Laskin, or designed after Grit Laskin, who's a Toronto luthier, and who kindly gave Bob permission to use his design. And then the radius armrest is built. It's a little rounder curve, a little lower profile.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Do you think that armrest will work its way down to the others?
The other what?
Well, the other guitars.
No, I don't. No, because it's designed partly for a price point too. This feature in our custom shop is about $1,500.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's also a price point thing too.
Yeah.
You know, if you put this in now from time to time we'll put a limited guitar out. We did a 600 series that had this armrest on it, but it was a very limited run. So. Rosewood, you know, you get a big EQ curve, you get a lot of top end, you get a lot of bottom end, you get a little bit of a dip in the mid range. So like just tons of power in this guitar. that's a pretty good example of even some of the dissonant chords. They just really react to one another nicely through those different shapes without feeling like you have to make the slightest little tweaks. So that's a 914 CE. It's been a really popular seller since Andy remodeled this. I love it because it's still kind of subtle up here through the bling. You got a lot of nice power. It's got a little layer of koa purfling right here if you look really closely. And it's all around the rosette as well. And of course the beveled armrest done in ebony, which kind of makes it almost like more of a shadow, a little more subtle, I think. Any other questions on V-Class or anything else before we play guitars? Yes, sir.
What species are you using for the bracing?
It's Sitka spruce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do use Adirondack spruce occasionally. Adirondack is a little stiffer. We use that for tops sometimes too on custom guitars or occasional limiteds now. I remember asking Andy before NAMM because what the gentleman asked about the A14 CE Deluxe, that one of the three features of that guitar was it featured Adirondack bracing. So taking the bracing in the X brace, making it from Sitka to Adirondack gave it a little more strength in the top. I asked Andy if that was going to roll over into the Deluxe. He said it doesn't have as much impact. And at the time I asked him, he said he didn't think so. That may have changed since then. But they're due to come out in April or May, I think, right before the summer NAMM show. Yes?
When are we going to see V-Class bracing with flying V style there?
It's something about monkeys and leprechauns. Yeah. I was with you until you got to the whole. We have a colleague who's kind of a metal guy, and we joke about not joke about it, but he has a guitar collection that it's a very pointy guitar collection. So I'll see guitars out in the field that might have like 4 or 5 really sharp points on them and take pictures for him. But yeah, I don't know about a flying Taylor V, but I've learned to never say never. They say, hey, when are you going to make a GS Mini bass? 3 years ago, I was like, oh, I don't know. There it is.
Everything 50% off for today?
Are we talking U.S., Canadian? Yeah, pricing, you talk to any of the guys at the staff here. I am the mere representative of the manufacturer. So if there's any, yes, you have a question? It's okay.
Humidity?
Or lack of it?
What do you recommend?
For all wooden guitars, we recommend keeping it whenever possible, in the 45 to 50% range. So in case, obviously you guys get a pretty wide range of it here. Not as bad as some areas of your country or our country. But definitely a case humidifier. The guys will always make sure you're set up with one of those before you leave, especially on a higher end instrument. You want to protect your investment because it's been a tough winter, already. Like you think about up in Edmonton and in the plains, and man, they get really super dry up there. And our customer service department has been on like double overload time this year because of cracked guitars. So if you want to leave your guitars out, which a lot of us do, I love having my guitars out in my house. It makes me grab them and play them more. Get a nice room humidifier and a couple of hygrometers to read. And just because it's 45% in this corner of the room, it could still be 28% in this corner of the room, depending on how much coverage your humidifier is doing. So a case humidifier is really the way to go. Dan will tell you that all day long. Yes, sir. It's not out yet. That's going to be one of the models it's coming out in, though. I think V-bracing in general, it's going to improve the sustain on all of them, on all the guitars as they roll out. That's one of the ones coming around the middle of the year. Yeah. Everybody good?
Yep.
Y'all want to play some guitars?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time today. Thanks
Thank you.
to the Tom Lee guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
And ladies.